know me, I actually work in a factory, a furniture factory. I'm what you would call an expediter, and that's basically just a material. And in other words, I move stuff around. So, I mean, I'm not some politician or some great pundit or anything. I'm just an ordinary citizen. But when you think about that word ordinary citizen, you know, when I think about that word ordinary citizen, because I'm a student of history, I always think about what ordinary citizens have done over time. And ordinary citizens are the ones that fought the Revolution and fought the War of 1812 and fought the Civil War and fought the First World War and Spanish-American War and all of our wars. Ordinary citizens did those things. All of us. Yes. We're the ones that have done those things. Not, you know, of course we hear about the great men throughout history, and there are great men in this room right now. But the greatest among all of us are just the ordinary citizens, and that's what we all are, and it just does my heart good to see all of you all here together, from all walks of life. Every kind of person is in this room right now, and we're all standing up for one idea, and that idea is the idea of freedom. Freedom for all of us, and for all the people. Also, I'd like to say thank you to everyone who's sent me messages on Facebook, sent me letters, given me words of encouragement. Again, did not ever expect that little 4-minute speech at a city council meeting on Tuesday evening in Greensboro, North Carolina would lead all this, but I'm certainly glad that it did.
We heard you.
Oh, for those of y'all that don't know the roots of that, I'm going to give you a quick synopsis of what happened. I'm not a gun owner yet. I'm going to make that clear. Not yet. I'm still making plans to buy my first firearm. Well, not my first firearm, but I'm still making plans to buy an AR-15. And I asked all my friends who are gun owners where's the best place to go, and they all told me go to the Greensboro Gun Show. It's the best gun show in North Carolina. That's where you need to go. So I made plans to go in August. And I heard our city council made plans to cancel the gun show, and the exact quote was, in light of the events in Florida. And I thought to myself, now how ridiculous is this? Some nutcase commits murder in Florida, and my city council is going to step in and punish me. How ridiculous is that? But then I heard they couldn't do it because it was against the law. Only the Coliseum director could do it. Felt a little relieved. But then that morning I heard they were having a meeting about gun violence. That was the exact quote. We're having a meeting about gun violence at 5:30. And I thought to myself, I have got to go to this thing because I know what they're doing. They're going to try to put pressure on this Coliseum director to end this gun show. Can't sit still. I can't let that happen. You know, I got a real big mouth. At that time, I had a real big mouth on social media. I had a real big mouth in my living room, but had yet to step out. And I knew that all that stuff behind those computer screens doesn't make worth a hill of beans unless you're ready to go out to the street and actually put some action behind it. So I had to go down there. I had not planned on speaking at the meeting. I was just there to support those who were there speaking. But after I heard some of the things that were said, I could not hold back, and I had to let it fly. And what happened. So that's the background on that. And again, I want to thank everybody that supported me in this and said such kind things about this, about that video and about that meeting. Now, when you talk about the Second Amendment, for me, here's the major issue that I have with the Second Amendment, and I've been telling everybody this. The Second Amendment was not granted to us by our founding fathers.
That's right.
Come on now.
Was not granted to us by our Constitution. I don't know how many people in this room are believers. I would imagine most of you are. But for me, the Second Amendment was granted to me by God Almighty. And no one else. It was affirmed by our Second Amendment and was affirmed by our founding fathers in those documents. But it is given to us by our Father in heaven. Now I want you to think about this. Think about any animal in nature you've ever seen. From the biggest grizzly bear to the tiniest slug in your garden. Every one of those animals our Father endowed with some type of protection.
Yes.
To the bear, of course, it's obvious what he gave. He gave those great big massive paws and those giant teeth and that speed, that 35, 40 mile an hour speed that can chase you down and make you his lunch. That's what he gave to the bear. To the eagle, he gave his wings and his talons and that massive beak. And to that slug, what did he give to that slug? That slug, whether you know it or not, that slug has an enzyme in it that protects it from its enemies. That makes it unpalatable to the creatures that would devour it. That little tiny slug has Second Amendment rights. So we come to human beings. What do we have? Our Father endowed us with a wisdom to be able to build complex machinery. And from that complex machinery has arisen the technology to build weapons, to protect ourselves from our enemies, to feed us, to feed ourselves. This right actually comes from God. I can't understand how somebody says that this issue is not a spiritual issue, how it's not a spiritual war. Because you take a look at the people who want to disarm. What do these people believe in? A lot of these people believe that it's okay at 8.5 months, almost 9 months, and in some cases 9 months, to go into a woman's womb and crush a human infant, crush its skull, and suck its tiny body out and throw it in the trash can, like it's trash. The absolute image of God on earth, they believe it's okay to destroy. The most innocent and helpless creatures on earth, they believe it's okay, and they call it a choice. Those are the people that want to take away our gun rights. Somebody who believes in murdering infants says you don't need a gun. Guess what? You need a gun. Another big issue out right now is immigration. I love immigration. I love the stories of immigrants who come to this nation to do the right thing and come the right way. But these folks that want to open up our border and let this violent horde come in unchecked and unvetted, knowing the type of places they're coming from and the kind of things that they're capable of. They just want to just come right in, come across our borders. Yeah, come on in. It doesn't matter if you're in MS-13. Come right on in. We love you all. Come right on in. Because, see, it doesn't matter because we live in gated communities with armed guards. Those guys over there, they don't. Doesn't matter if you kill them. You can't kill me. I have armed guards. When somebody who believes it's okay for an illegal horde to invade our borders, and make no doubt about it, it's an invasion. When those type of people tell you you don't need a gun, guess what? You need a gun. So again, that's where our God-given right to self-defense comes in. Is to be able to protect ourselves from enemies, foreign and domestic. And for my money, the way it stands right now, most of the enemies of our freedom, sadly, they exist right here among us in our own country. And some of them are in our government. Folks, we got to be courageous to stand up against those folks and say, you are not going to take my rights away. Like I said in that speech, come hell or high water, I'm going to hold on to my rights and I'm going to keep them for me. And more importantly, I'm going to keep them for my children and my grandchildren and their children and grandchildren. People have asked me a lot. I've gotten this a whole lot. They say, well, how do you think they're going to get rid of 300 million guns? You know, all these gun owners, it's too big of an issue to be tackled. Nobody can do that. Well, here's how I like to answer that. These leftists, and that's what I call them because that's what they are, these leftists and these socialists, they understand that. They understand that there are 300 million guns in this country, and they understand that there's millions of gun owners that are willing to stand up and fight them. But what they're trying to do is they're trying to take our rights in little parcels at the time. That's why whenever we see them encroaching on our Second Amendment rights, no matter whether it be an inch or a mile, we need to stand up and scream like the Dickens. We need to raise as much hell as they do and let them know that they're not going to be able to do it. Because I'm going to tell you this, those 300 million guns and all those gun owners, that's the elephant in the room for them. That's that elephant in the room. And how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. But in this case, it's one right at a time. So we cannot let them take 1 inch. We cannot give 1 inch. We cannot back up. We cannot be afraid. As soon as the issue arises, we need to get up off our couches, get up from our office stools, wherever we are, and we need to let these politicians know, if you try to take 1 inch of my rights away from me, you're going to have a serious fight on your hands. A serious fight. Now finally, me not being a gun owner, I've got some criticism from people. They say, well, why do you care so much about guns? You don't even own one. My reply to them always is this: I don't have a lawyer on retainer either. But I would hate to wake up tomorrow and need a lawyer and find out that my right to counsel had been taken away from me. This issue with the Second Amendment is not about Rugers, it's not about 22 rifles, it's not about AR-15s, it's not about 9mm. This is about our constitutional rights. And we have got to hold on to every one of them. Not just the ones that we favor because it's good for our hobby or good for what we like. We've got to hold on to all of them, because I'm going to tell you this, and all you all already know this. Without that Second Amendment, without that right to self-protection, that First Amendment and all the rest of them don't make worth a hill of beans, because the person that has the guns has the power. And if they have the power, they can silence your voices. When the British came here in 1775 at Lexington and Concord, they didn't come here to shut down a newspaper. They didn't come here to, slap Thomas Jefferson around and say, hey, shut up talking about all that freedom stuff. They came here for one purpose: to seize the arsenal. Because they knew that arsenal was the key to our freedom. Because it was the key to us being able to defend ourselves against their tyranny. So folks, in this fight for the Second Amendment, what I want you to do is this. First off, I want you to thank God that we live in a country where we had founders that were wise enough to realize that God endowed us with the right to self-protection and all of our other unalienable rights. The second thing I want you to do is I want you to go and I want you to look in the mirror. And I want you to ask yourself if you have enough courage and you have enough stomach for this fight. Because believe me, the fight has just begun. And the third thing I want you to do when you lay your head down on the pillow tonight, I want you to ask yourself, what can I do to preserve the cause of freedom? Because the cause of freedom is certainly worth preserving. And when you do it, I want you to keep your future generations in mind. Even the ones of you that may not have children or grandchildren. I want you to think about it. And I want you to think about a far off distant time, maybe, coming along, when you'll have to sit them on your knee and do one of two things. Either explain to them why you didn't have the courage to fight for their freedom, or how you had the courage to fight for their freedom. I hope it's the latter, folks, because it's going to take courage to save this nation. And that's what we need out of all of you, and that's what we need out of me, all of us. We need to stand up, we need to be courageous. We need to be unafraid, because our founders were, and you see where it's gotten us. And we need to leave our children and grandchildren no less. I thank you for your time. God bless you. God bless the United States.